Hello. I uh, I love Stacy's video so much I wanted to make one of my own, another one. Um, but I wanted to let y'all know about stuff that I work on, physics and medicine, stuff that you won't see where you're reading now, either in a textbook or in popular journals, or even in any current science literature, because it's out in the Facebook of science world. There's this things like ResearchGate where we talk. Scientists talk about stuff, and one of the things in physics that we are talking about in the last few months is that atoms communicate, and they do so in about four different fundamental ways, and then on top of that, there are combinations of ways that atoms communicate. So the old argument about particle and wave that doesn't exist anymore. Um, the notion of particle and the notion of waves are kind of formed out of these communications. And what we see in Newtonian physics, things like gravity, electromagnetism, and the forces inside and around the atom, those are a consequence of what we call confluence of these communications. So when two atoms communicate, create a field between them, and then that field can communicate with another field, and then they kind of conjoin, and it's called conforming. And then as they drag atoms here and there, you think, or we get the notion that, hey, there's stuff like gravity, but there's really not. So there's no such thing as gravity, although we have the notion of it. And this is just fun stuff that you can now talk about at your, your barbecue or when you're having wine with your friends or whatever. But for thinking, it changes things. It means that you can get whole notions of things instantaneously. You can recognize things instantaneously. You can look into the future and into the past by broadening your scope, your geometry of thought. And what this does for religion is that it gives us and actually reinforces the notion of God. Because, well, when two atoms communicate, the field that's then created is created out of really nothing. So something is created out of nothing. And that's, a very religious type notion. Also, faith, which is a type of observation, an internal observation, like reflection, self-reflection. Faith is the only way that we can then know things. Proof of the existence of things, what we used to think were kinetic reactions, which aren't anymore. They're elastic communications. Proof is not possible. When we look at an atom from an atom's perspective and we try to predict now where it's going to go, it's impossible because it depends on the location of other atoms. And we can never know that. But through observation, by actually using systems like our mind, where we have two cerebrum, we can create and engineer things that can observe. And then expanding geometry, we can observe into the future. So through faith, we can see what's going to happen. But we can't use mathematics to prove. And in religion, then, there is no proof. Which is interesting. Because, we've come a long way towards thinking that God exists and that there's no proof of it. And we're finding that out. That God may very well indeed exist and there is no proof. And there is only faith. And on a more personal level, what this does for the individual is that it means that the type of thought the bricklayer thought where you are trying to figure things out and you worry, you fret. That's a part of proof. And you can't prove stuff. You can only observe. So what that means then is through presence, feeling your geometry, your space inside from your tippy toes to your tip of the head. Feel your presence and then expand that, and you can anticipate what's going to happen. It's like an instrument, our bodies then, and getting to know it and using it takes practice. And so religion is really good for that, getting to know your body.